Good morning. I cannot do chapter 7 yet, and I have read it 3 times. I even read it again this morning, was ready to move on, and I can't. Chapter 6 is big. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, this whole experience has been a little overwhelming for me. Maybe that sounds silly to you. It's more, the Holy Spirit is really guiding me right now, and I'm not used to it. I mean, almost, it's hard to explain. A lot of second guessing, a lot of prayer for, Father, I hope I'm hearing from you. The Bible says to test the spirits, right? To use discernment, to use his word as a guidepost. And I feel like I'm getting so much thrown at me that I'm also having to take so much time to sift it and pray over it. And it's a little exhausting, and it's hard if you're not used to this kind of a spiritual interaction. I feel like I'm learning as I go, and I'm kind of stumbling along the way. And I'm going to be faithful. Like, what it comes down to is I was literally arguing with him again this morning. I went off to go make cider, just putting off this video, setting up the computer, letting it restart itself. I mean, every little distraction that could come by, I let come by. And I'm just arguing with him. And I'm in this conference room while the cider's percolating. And why me, God? Why are you using me? Like, I just don't feel like I have the fortitude for this. Like, I don't feel confident. I feel like when I see people who have the word of God working through them, there's a confidence. And I mean, and maybe I portray that. I sure don't feel it. But I just felt this still little voice saying, because you're responding to the call. Because you said yes. And it makes me wonder how many of us out there, and I have been one of them, due to our confusion, due to our lack of knowledge, have just kind of said no without knowing we were saying no. Where we just kind of did this to God and said, it's too weird for me, it's too much for me, I'm not smart enough for this. And these are things that have literally come out of my mouth, and yet at the same time, I have said, but whatever you want. And I love that Jesus came in flesh and showed us his own struggles, because I think of him in the Garden of Gethsemane, sweating blood, what he was about to do, the greatest calling of all time, ordained from the foundations of the earth. And he sweat blood in that garden. But he still submitted to God, his Father, for us. And he's leading by example. There are going to be tasks set before us that feel beyond us. And my task in comparison is very small. But to be faithful, to say yes anyway, even if it doesn't make sense to me, even if I'm still trying to figure it out, for some reason, he wants you to hear what I'm about to share. So forgive me if it's confusing or whatever. But I'm being told to sit on chapter 6 today. And here's why. I had a dream last night. And it's definitely one that feels like it's part of chapter 6 and Joel 2, which I will read. In this dream, it felt like a normal day. My husband and I are looking for a place to kind of fit all our kids in, which is kind of on the nose because we're looking at moving here soon. And we don't really know our options quite yet. They keep changing on us. And in this dream, we're looking at this like big old RV as a temporary place to stay until we can work out a living space. And we look outside, and there seems to be this like field that kind of slopes upward, and there's trees in a forest. And when we're looking out, we're seeing like a wave of black pouring over this hill and down through the trees like tar. It looked like tar just being poured over and through. And we just knew it was demonic. We knew this is it, whatever it is. And I remember in my dream, a conversation/prayer I'd had with God. And this was actually a real conversation with God, not in a dream. A few days ago, so before my dream, I had been arguing with God. I do this a lot. And just asking him, okay, why these warning dreams? If you don't know, you can look it up. I had a warning dream almost 2 years ago, come May, where Jesus looked me square in the face and said, the giants are coming. And he did it twice, because the first time I didn't take him seriously. I was just so excited to see him, but very sternly, very serious, looking me in the face. The giants are coming. Since that warning dream, I've been on a journey, just trying to figure that out. Like, okay, I've always believed in the pre-trib rapture, or at least leaned towards it. Why do I need to know about giants? Why are you telling me about giants if I'm not going to be here? And I've been on this journey since. And I'm learning more and more, and I'm starting to learn that this is probably messier than we think. It's not so cut and dry where we're drawn up before any kind of awful thing happens. And, we kind of touched on that yesterday with chapter 6. Like, it's not really clear where we're drawn up, but the promise is that before his wrath, we're drawn up, right? Well, a few days ago, when I'm having this argument, I'm just like, why did you tell me about these giants? And since then, I've had this feeling when I was having kind of an identity crisis. He was telling me, you are Jamie, the giant slayer. And I remember thinking, that is so utterly ridiculous. Maybe my husband, very warrior-like. Me? Giant slayer? And what? Why are we really going back there? Like, why are you calling me a giant slayer? Am I gonna be here for that? And I remember just asking him, like, how in the world am I supposed to slay giants? How? Like, what use am I to you? And at the time, I remember hearing the word sing. And I honestly, guys, I just ignored it because I have a vivid imagination. And half the time I'm like, am I hearing from God? Or is my brain just popping words in my brain? Because I heard the word sing. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna sing the giants away. Okay, back to the dream. This wave of black is coming over the hill, through the trees. I mean, it's like oozing through, but we know it's demonic. We know it's what we've heard of. It is the evil army coming. And I start to sing. I start to worship. And I'm singing every worship song I can think of, and I'm putting all my heart and soul in it. I am singing. And as this wave comes towards us, it splits around, just perfectly splits around us and keeps going. And I'm singing and I'm singing and I'm worshiping and I'm worshiping. And then I'm seeing like its devastation around me. And this part is where there's not very much detail, but I'm kind of bouncing between moments where one moment I'm trying to help teach others to worship and to sing, but you can't just sing. There's no magic in just singing. You have to believe what you're singing. You have to be truly worshiping. So you have to believe in who you're worshiping, right? And the dream ends oddly, where there's this room I can't get into. Like the forces are too strong. But eventually I get in and there's two people trying to sing over this person crumpled on a bed. But I can tell they're singing the wrong song. And they're standing back from this person. They're kind of scared of the person. And I am too. I'm looking at this person a little leery. Like, okay, are you a victim of what's just happened? Or are you a distraction? Or are you something sneaky? But I'm stepping forward, and I get the urge to sing over this person a blessing on them. So that one song, I don't know if you've heard it, the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. And I reach out and I touch this person, and I'm singing this song. And the other two are kind of joining me, but they're also kind of arguing. They're a couple, and I can tell they're arguing about something. And I can tell that this person has some peace after I touched them and sing this song. But it kind of ends there. I don't know what happened to that person. I don't know if they were truly a victim of what happened, if they were a distraction because the couple felt weird. The whole situation was weird. The dream is weird. The dream is weird. Revelation 6, when we get to the fourth seal, let's just read that. And when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the fourth living creature say, "Come and see." Then I saw a speckled and strong horse, and he who sat on it, his name was the messenger of death. And hell, or Gehenna, followed after him. And I just think of that wave I saw. This is wave, death and hell following after him. And authority was given to him to put to death a fourth part on the earth, with the sword and with famine and with death, and by the animals of the earth. And I want to stop there for a second. God is highly symbolic. Parables, imagery. And I'm thinking of this, and I'm thinking of how my dream was this image of just black tar washing over, swooping down, and how worshiping seemed to be a protection. I'm trying to figure this out because in my dream, it kind of feels like we're here. I remember yesterday saying, it's really hard to know between seal 4, seal 5. Okay, where were we drawn up? We know by seal 6, like that epic sign in the sky. They're hiding in rocks. Oh no, the day of the Lord has come. I know we're not there for that because that's not how believers sound. And shortly after, in verse 7, because I've read it, you're going to see people in heaven. But this seal 4, what if we're here? What if we're here to see a fourth part of the earth wiped out? Because in seal 5, when he opened the fifth, I saw under the temple the neshamot, the souls, who were killed because of the set-apartness of Yahweh. Now, this isn't being killed because of what happened in seal 4. It's specific. They're killed for being believers. So this is persecution. And because of the testimony which they had. And they cried out with a great voice and said, "Set apart and faithful Adon, until when will you judge without avenging our blood from those who dwell on the earth?" And to every one of them were given white garments, and it was said to them that you must rest yet a little time. Okay. I want to switch over and read Joel 2 now. Because Joel 2, I read it again. I just felt God go, flip to it. I'm like, okay, don't want to, but okay. And I read it. And Joel 2, from what I can tell, kind of encapsulates seal 4 through seal 6. Go with me on this. So, Joel 2. I'm going to read about half of it, so it's a little long. Blow a trumpet in Zion and sound an alarm on my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. Surely it is near. Okay, I'm going to draw that part out. For the day of the Lord is coming, and surely it is near. Okay, so this is before seal 6, but it's sure pointing at seal 6. Something's about to happen that means we are so very close to the wrath. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness. As the dawn is spread over the mountains, so there is a great and mighty people. There has never been anything like it, nor will there be again after it to the years of many generations. A fire consumes before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is like the Garden of Eden before them, but a desolate wilderness behind them. And nothing at all escapes them. Their appearance is like the appearance of horses, and like war horses, so they run. With a noise as of chariots, they leap on the tops of the mountains, like the crackling of a flame of fire consuming the stubble, like a mighty people arranged for battle. Before them the people are in anguish. All faces turn pale. They run like mighty men. They climb the wall like soldiers, and they each march in line, nor do they deviate from their paths. They do not crowd each other. They march everyone in his path. When they burst through the defenses, they do not break ranks. They rush on the city. They run on the wall. They climb into the houses. They enter through the windows like a thief. Before them the earth quakes. The heavens tremble. The sun and the moon grow dark, and the stars lose their brightness. The Lord utters his voice before his army. Surely his camp is very great, for strong is he who carries out his word. The day of the Lord is indeed great and awesome, and who can endure it? So the beginning of chapter 2 is the day of the Lord is coming, surely it is near. And then we're getting this image of this vast army that is swooping over. And it made me think of my dream, this army that just kind of bounces over mountains and just doesn't even break ranks, just swarms in like they're undefeatable. Faces turn pale. People are in anguish. Nowhere here does it say we're protected. In fact, if I go a little further, so Joel 2, verse 15. Blow a trumpet in Zion, consecrate a fast, proclaim a solemn assembly, gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children and the infants. Let the bridegroom come out of his room, and the bride out of her bridal chamber. Let the priests, the Lord's ministers, weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, spare your people, O Lord, and do not make your inheritance a reproach, a byword among the nations. And this image, gather the people, let the bridegroom come out of his room, and the bride out of her bridal chamber. It's like we've been hiding, right? We've been hiding, and it makes sense. I mean, the scene that is described in Joel 2 is terrifying. And I think of Seal 4, the horseman on the speckled horse with death and hell following behind him. And there's just this part of me, with the warning dream of the giants are coming. And in this dream, I didn't see giants. It was so symbolic. It wasn't even about seeing a creature. We knew it was demonic. We knew it was evil. But all we saw, it was tar. It was just like watching black, thick tar pouring over and through everything. And worship. Worship being my only protection. And it had to be real. It had to be genuine. You couldn't just sing. You had to believe in the words you were singing, and you had to believe in the one you were singing to. And I just wonder why that dream. I was about to move on to chapter 7, and I was starting to kind of grapple with it, still felt intimidated by it. And then I get that dream, and it was just like, okay, why the timing, right? Wow, that sounds like Seal 4. And then I thought of Joel 2, and I read that, and I'm like, wow, this sounds like a bit of Seal 4, 5, 6, the sky going dark. And I just think of how God is outside of time. And these seals, we don't know how they're going to play out. Are they going to play out in very sequential manner? Or is it going to be a rush of events? Are they intermingled? Does one bleed right into the next? Because you read Joel 2 and it's just a moment that I know spans a lot of time. Rushing the cities, rushing the walls, fasting, weeping, rend your heart and not your garments. And it just made me think of that genuine worship. You have to worship for real. Rend your heart, not your garments. Don't just la, 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 la. Don't just sing. You better mean what you sing. You better believe in it. Return to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, abounding in loving kindness, and relenting of evil. This is in Joel 2. This is cushioned in the middle of that mess. This little piece. Rend your heart, not your garments. And I'm wondering if this is that moment slightly before we're pulled up, where those who are truly his, I don't know. And a part of me is kind of getting over trying to figure it out. We're given warnings. The Bible is full of them. To ignore them and just pacify ourselves with the rapture feels dangerous. The promise of being spared the Father's wrath, we can hold on to that. But the mess of this world, the precursors to his wrath, we may not be spared. And it just makes you take a look at yourself, right? Am I ready? Is my faith real? Or am I waiting for that lifeboat? Am I waiting for that rescue? Rend your heart, not your garments. And if you listened to that dream and you've got some kind of insight, please share below. I mean, it was kind of straightforward. It was intense. Maybe tomorrow we will hit chapter 7 of Revelation. But when God says to sit on something, it's wise to do so. To sit on something and mull it over. And please share. If he's given you word, I know he's not just using me. There are so many people right now who are faithfully stepping out. And I just, join those ranks, because I feel like the closer we get, we need to be practicing what it looks like to walk with the Spirit and in the Spirit, getting that practice of testing the spirits, learning discernment through his word. His word is your biggest guidepost. If you can't find whatever you were told in your head in here, then you discard it. He doesn't contradict himself. Our Father does not contradict himself. His word, you've got to be in it, because you have to know it intimately and at least know, I'll never be that person that can say in 2 Chronicles chapter 10, blah, 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 but I can thumb through. I'm getting to where I can thumb through and be like, I know it's over here, and I can usually find it within 30 seconds. That's impressive for me. And I think it's necessary. We need to know his word, because there's coming a time when the phony faith, the shallow faith, the lukewarm faith is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. I saw that in my dream. We want to withstand things like giants and evil armies sent as precursors to the Lord's wrath. We better be the genuine article, tested and tried and true. Makes me think of that old chorus song. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. That's our job, to be His, to let Him work through us and in us, and to walk in faith. The more I read this, the more I read Revelations, the more I'm like, girl, get that spiritual armor on. The armor of God needs to be on. You need to be in prayer always. People always forget that part of Ephesians 6. The armor on, and be in prayer always. Be ready. Gird yourselves. Don't just wait for that rapture rescue. We are spared His wrath. We are not spared the mess of this world and all the birth pains that lead up to His wrath. And I think some of those birth pains, from what I'm gathering, are a little messier than earthquakes and wars and famines. And if you disagree with me, please write below and give me some comforting scriptural references. God bless you.